Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we are checking out a pretty cool new authentication library called Better-Auth. If you haven't heard of it yet, it's a framework-agnostic authentication solution that's built with TypeScript and for TypeScript. As you can see here, the most comprehensive authentication framework for TypeScript. This is a framework-agnostic authentication library, so it's mostly work with every popular framework out there. So some of them are React, Vue, Svelte, Astro, Solid, Next.js, Next. You call it, they have it, right? Now, I usually write my code in Next.js. So I'll be looking into this authentication system from that point of view. And I'll be comparing with my go-to solution that is Auth.js. It used to be called Next.Auth. So Auth.js, they renamed it because they wanted to now also support different framework, as you can see here. So why do I need another open source authentication library when I have Auth.js? Well, let me tell you some of the issue I found in Auth.js. So if I click on here and get started, as you can see here, the first one is going to be your Next.js. And it's pretty easy to get going with Next.Auth on your next application. You don't even need a database if you're just working with, let's say, OAuth, right? But let's be real, if you are sharing your application with other folks and you're putting it out there in the internet, you probably are going to be needing a database anyway for session management and for persistence. So let's take a look at the authentication. What do they offer? Well, you see that the first top of their authentication is going to be our OAuth. So if that's all you want, Auth.js or Next.Auth is going to be sufficient for you. The second authentication that they prefer is called magic links. Now, magic links, let me tell you first that I hate magic links. The reason I hate magic links is because it kind of makes your user leave your application to go somewhere else, like to go in their email, check that, bring that code in there. So I think it's inconvenience really. So I don't really like magic link, but some of us might do. So in that case, they have magic link support. But take a look at this. They have providers, forward, resend, SendGrid. Now, except for NodeMailer right here, which is an open source project, right? I think to use any of the other services, you have to now open another account. And they do have free options, but they also have prices because these are businesses. Now, for like me, who kind of sometimes build projects on the side, I don't really need to open an account where I can just use NodeMailer and send email just for testing purpose. I can use my own Gmail as my SMTP server, right? So that's what I tried to do one time with NodeMailer. They have this documentation here, but I couldn't figure it out. And if you could, let me know, because all the tutorials I've seen with, especially with Magic Link, most of them are actually using either of this provider, mostly Resend, or some of them actually using Postmark. And I kind of thought that's just not good enough because they do have NodeMailer as a provider listed in the documentation, but it doesn't work. Like I followed everything from here, but it doesn't work with Gmail as SMTP server. So that's one problem, but I didn't really mind it that much because I don't like Magic Link anyway, right? So let's take a look at the credentials. Now, this is where the main issue lies. So the thing is, Auth.js has this pretty strong opinion about email password auth. It doesn't really want you to use it. So I get the reasoning, like password, like it's old school and passwordless is the future. But if you look around, email and password are still the most common way people log in. It's not going anywhere. And honestly, modern email password login isn't that bad. You've got reset links, two-factor authentication, all that, and most modern browsers remember your password anyway. So as long as you are using good practices, still totally viable. But Auth.js doesn't think that way. Auth.js just give you very bare bones credential provider, but every other features that is must if you are using credentials as one of the provider. For example, email validation, password reset, forget password functionality, all this, even hashing the password, all this logic, you have to do it yourself. So if you are using credentials, Auth.js doesn't really help that much. You kind of have to write it, your logic yourself. So here's where I think Better-Auth shines. So let's take a look at their documentation. If I click on Get Started, Well, first of all, it's super easy to get started because it's framework agnostic. They have integration here, Astro Remix, Next.js, and it works pretty similarly like Auth.js works. So I like that fact because whoever is already proficient with Auth.js, they would find it very easy to just migrate to Better-Auth. So you have your route, they also provide you a client component, auth.client.ts, and you have your auth, right? Now, let's take a look at their authentication. The very top of them is the email and password. If I click on here, you can actually take a look that they thought of pretty much everything. You have your email and password. All you have to do is just enable true in the config. Usage, they provide you the basic functionality like Auth.js, like sign up, sign in, and sign out. But they also provide you email verification. So right out of the box, they provide you a function, email verification, send verification email. And here the structure, the way they structure their function is pretty sweet as well, because all you have to do is this send email function, you have to write. And I had written this send email function and I used NodeMailer and Gmail SMTP server and it worked flawlessly. I'm going to show you in the demo what I built. They provide you the send verification email. They will take care of the token, URL, user information, everything. All you have to do is create a function that would actually send the email. So there is your email verification. If I scroll down a little bit, you will have your forget password functionality set up for you. And also you have your update password set up for you as well. Just for this reason, I want to migrate from Auth.js to Better-Auth, but there are other things that Better-Auth does better, which is if you take a look at the plugins, look, they have like enterprise level functionality built into this open source project. You want two-factor authentication, they got your back. You need username plugin, which is like email will be considered as username. They use as a plugin, they got your back. Anonymous, I found it really cool. So sometimes, I'll build projects, or some of my students build projects and they want to share it. And their beautiful dashboard or whatever they want to show off, it's behind authentication process, authentication flow, and they build out this authentication flow, made it very secure. But the people that they want to share with, now, majority of the people are not going to create an account, right? So what they do, usually they would provide like a demo password, a demo username. So anonymous in that case is a perfect use case. You don't have to create any demo user, demo password or anything. Be as a guest user, guest account, and it will then merge into, if they ever decide to create their official account, it will just get merged. So I think that's really good. So you can take a look at, they have the phone number integration there, magic link, email, of course, passkey, all this. They thought of everything. They provide you an API, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. And they have also SSO if you want to figure that out. So with that said, it's a very robust, full-featured, all-in-one solution for your authentication. And in this video, I'm going to build out a small Next.js app and hook up Better-Auth from scratch. No copy-paste magic. We'll write it together nice and slow. In fact, let me show you the demo project right now. So here, as you can see, create next app. I just have a nice little button, get started. If I click on here, it takes me to a login page. Here I have two social auth. I have Google social auth and I have a GitHub social auth. And I'm going to show you how you can get those client ID and secret. So, and I also have this email and password option as a credential. Let me check out that. Let's say I forgot my email or password or anything. There is an option called forgot your account. If I click on here, it's going to ask me enter your email. So let's just do this. Let's just add a bogus email that doesn't exist. So if I click on here, it's going to do, it's going to reroute me to create account page. As you can see, this is the create account page. We have, again, the social auth, 2-button, first name, last name, email, and password. All right, so if I put my first name, last name, email, and password, it's actually going to go ahead and create an account and put this into my database. Now for the database, I have used SQL database, SQLite database. I'll use Prisma ORM for that. And it is easily changeable. You can change it to MySQL or Postgres if you like. All you need to do is like the database URI. So I'll show you everything how you want to start this project, and you can also clone it down because the repo with all this code will be given into the description, like always. All right, so if I go back to sign in, this is what you get. So forgot your account. So let's say I forgot my account. I'm going to put my address here. Now this email do exist in my database. If I search, it is now going to take me to a forgot password flow. Here, I can sign in back. If I just forgot my email address, I can go back, sign in with my password, or I can click on here, send reset link. That would send a link with the token. Let's see. Check your email for the reset link. Let's go back to my email. As you can see here, reset password. It's coming from me because it's my email address. So here, if I click on this, it's going to open up a new page with the token. I can reset my password. So I can put this here and create a new password and click on reset, and it's going to reset for me. All right, I don't want to do that right now, so let's go back. All right, with all this, I'm going to show you step by step. So stick around to learn best practices. We are also going to talk about middleware, saying that there has been a security issue with Next.js middleware. People knew how to bypass middleware to go to your protected page. That issue has been fixed. Next.js has fixed that issue, and I just want to talk to you about the middleware shouldn't be like a one-step layer between user and your protected page. Best practice you can use middleware, sure, because it runs on every route, but you should also have other layers. So when it comes to security layers, more the merrier. Best practice is to always check for the user session or whether the user is authenticated or not at the page level before rendering that particular page. All right, lastly, if you're enjoying this kind of content and want to help out a small unsponsored dev channel, hit that like, subscribe, or maybe even share it with your team. It really helps me keep making more chill, dev-friendly stuff like this. All right, enough talk. Let's dive into the code and get Better-Auth running. Grab a coffee, crack open your terminal, and let's do this. Okay, so I've got a Next application running in localhost 3000, brand new one. All you have to do is run this in your terminal, npx create next app latest, which will download the latest version of Next. I kept all the default option. I used TypeScript. You kind of have to use TypeScript if you want to use Better-Auth. ESLint, Tailwind, CSS, we'll be using Shadcn UI, as you know, App Router, and TurboPack. TurboPack makes things a little bit faster than your regular Next.js dev experience. So here, what we have, localhost 3000, as you can see here. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my source directory. And inside the source directory, my app directory is only going to be specific for my routes. So inside here, go to our page, whatever we have here. I'm going to say hello world just to see if everything's working. There you go. We have our hello world on our application. I'm going to get rid of this image and close this one. Let me go ahead and just stop the server as of right now and go back to our Better-Auth documentation. So I'm going to go to installation, as you can see here. Better-Auth actually has a really good documentation. So I'm going to follow just step by step. So we have our npm install Better-Auth. Let's go ahead and install this one, and that should install our Better-Auth in our project. Next up, we have to create our env files. So let's go ahead and do just that. I'm going to create the env file in our root folder .env, and here Better-Auth secret. Let's go ahead and generate the secret. They graciously have this generate a random string for us. That's nice. Let's go ahead and add another environment variable, and that's just going to be our Better-Auth URL, which is the root URL, which is localhost 3000 in our case. Before we forget, we need to make sure that we are in fact ignoring our .env files so that we don't accidentally push any of our environment variables to our Git. All right, next up, we have to create a lib folder in our source directory. I'm going to go ahead and create that. And inside our lib folder, I need a file called auth.ts. This is going to be for initializing our Better-Auth. Let's go ahead and just copy paste this one like So we are bringing in Better-Auth from Better-Auth and then Auth, Better-Auth. Okay, so next up is going to be configuring our database. So I'll be using Prisma adapter to make our life easier. So here, let's go ahead and copy this, paste it here. We do need to make some changes, but before we do this, let's go ahead and initialize our Prisma here. So Prisma init and data source provider is going to be SQLite. This will create our schema, our specific folder, as you can see here, Prisma, our schema. Generate client provider is going to be Prisma client.js. The output is actually going to be inside our source. It is going to create a new folder directory called generated, and that will actually have our Prisma. So whenever we are actually bringing in this client is actually needs to come from our generate folder. So right now it's not generated yet because we didn't run Prisma generate. So before we do this, we are going to create another file inside our lib, and we're gonna call this prisma.ts, and this is just going to make our dev experience much more efficient. Can copy paste it from my repo that I will be sharing with you guys in the description. So let's go ahead and paste this. So here you can see import Prisma client for Prisma client. Again, I'm going to change this one, but we're initializing this Prisma client. And then if it's production, then initialize. If it's not, then use the cache. I'm going to delete this. And I will be deleting this one. And from the Prisma TS, you see that we are actually creating this const DB, and the DB will have Prisma in it. And I'm just going to call this DB, which will bring it from here, Prisma. So the next up we want to do here is how easily you can create a model user, ID integer, email string, name string. This is just for the example, just for our to generate our Prisma client here. I'm going to add it, but we are going to override this with our Better-Auth. So if I go back here, you can see they actually give us a CLI, Better-Auth CLI generate, that will generate all the models for us. So now we want to go back to our prisma.ts because this one is now not correct anymore, because you see that inside our source, we now have a generated directory. So this is where we are actually going to, so here, not app, but generated Prisma, and then we can just want a client. So this is where we want our Prisma client coming out from. So that's the only change I want to make here. I'm not going to touch this prisma.ts file anymore. So now I'm going to run this CLI command here, which is going to be npx Better-Auth CLI generate. So it looks like Prisma schema Prisma already exists. Do you want to override the schema to the file? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so as you can see here, it actually created all the models that we need. We have our user model, we have our session model, our account verification. We do have an issue with here, and that is actually coming from because our ID is integer. We have to make this string, and this one is actually going to be, and that should fix all of it. All right, so we have our models ready. What I want to do right now is I'm actually going to create a migration. So Better-Auth CLI does give you this migrate, which is actually only work for Keasley. So we are just going to use our Prisma migrate function, and that's going to be npx Prisma migrate dev -- name. I'm going to provide the name. It's going to come handy later if I ever want to debug and check out any migration or anything like that. So as you can see here inside our Prisma directory, we have our migration folder, and it did create a migration for us. So I think we are good to go in terms of our database setup. Now let's go here, and this is going to be our authentication method. So the first thing we want to do here, let's go ahead and grab this options right from here, and let's go to auth. Right underneath, we want to say here email and password, and it's an object. So the first property is going to be enabled. So we are going to use email and password. We're going to say true, and then it also can add other properties. So for an example, mean password length. So usually you want to do something like 8 here that's secure, and then you also can provide a max password length here of, I'm going to say it's going to be 128, something like that. All right, so you can pass more properties inside our email and password. Here we are also going to auto sign in, so that's something we're going to use. And then right underneath the email and password, we are going to also do account. And in this case, we are going to make sure that account linking is also enabled. So that's going to make sure that if anybody, let's say, created with their email and password, but later on they also sign in with their Google account, then it's going to link for the same user. Okay, it's good. And we are also going to use our social providers. So I'm going to be using GitHub, and also I'm going to be using Google. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy paste this, change this to Google, and also change this one to Google. Same env we would need a client ID and client secret for Google, and obviously our client ID and client secret from our GitHub. So since we are here, let's go ahead and get those client ID and client secret. So for Google, what you have to do is you have to go to console.cloud, so Google Cloud Console. And here you will have to go to API and services, and you want to go to your credentials. If you have two auth set up, you probably would have to go to OAuth consent screen and go from there and actually create a credential. You will be creating OAuth client ID. If you click on here from this drop down, you'll be doing web application, because that's what I'm using. You can name it whatever you want. Authorized redirect URIs, you have to add this URI right here. So just because we are developing in localhost 3000 /API/auth/callback/Google, okay? And you can add another URI when you are actually going to deploy that. So then this localhost 3000 will change with your domain. That's how you create from Google Cloud Console. And once you create this, it will give you a client ID and client secret, okay? And a similar way you can do with your GitHub. So you have to go to your settings, like so. And then from your left-hand side, go at the very bottom, developer settings. And here you see that your OAuth app, and you can create a new OAuth app here. And then you give it a name, and it will give you a client ID and secret, which you will need to now add it to your env variables. I'm going to go ahead and add this right now. There you go. This has been added. So let's go ahead and check out our next step from our documentation. And this is already done. Now we have to create catch-all route. So this is going to be similar to how if you ever worked with Next.js Auth. So here in our source directory, in our app directory, we will be creating a new folder. We are going to call this API. Inside our API, we're going to create another folder. We're going to call this Auth. And inside our Auth, we're going to create another folder. And that's going to be square bracket. Let's spread all the routes. And inside all, we're going to have something called route.ts. Okay. And inside that route, all we have to do is copy paste this one, auth from lib-auth, which is coming from our library, and then to Next.js handler. And this is actually going to be catch-all route for auth. That's all we need to do. Make sure it is in app, API, auth, all, and inside our route. All right. So after that, we are also going to create something called a client auth. So this is where we will be able to call our sign in, sign out, use session from a client component. So I'm going to go back to our lib folder, and I'm going to create another new file. I'm going to call this auth-client.ts. All right, I'm going to go ahead and paste this in here. So this is coming from create Auth-Client from Better-Auth. And export const auth client, create auth client. It will just have a base URL as of right now. but then it will give us all the sign in, sign up use session. What I like to do is instead of just exporting the entire auth client, I like to destructure this, and I will need sign in, I will need sign out, and I will need use session as of right now. So this is going to be our auth client. So let's go and close this. And that should be it for the Better-Auth installation. Now, there are a couple of concepts that I would like to talk to you about when it comes to Next.js. So I'm going to go to our integration here, and I'm going to go to Next here. We already created this API route. And inside here, we already did this. Client, we already created it. And this is actually telling us how we can use this auth to check the session from a server. So this is a nice little example here. Now, here is what we want to talk about here. It's a middleware. You probably heard about there is a security leak happen with the middleware. Next.js or every other tutorial, we're kind of like mentioning that, hey, middleware runs on every route. So you can obviously use that, your auth logic to check user is authenticated or not in your middleware, which is not a bad idea, but here's the thing, there has been a security leak. So if you want to learn more about, I'll put the actual article in the description. And the good news is it has been fixed. All you have to do is like upgrade to the new version. There is a lesson to learn from there though. When it comes to security or your application, you should never rely on somebody else. You should always have some sort of control over your security yourself. And the more layers you can provide are the better. So you can absolutely use middleware and put your auth logic in there, but also make sure that on every protected page, you are checking the session. You are checking if the user is authenticated. So we want to use multiple layers to make our application secure. That's the lesson here. So that's what we're going to do. So inside here, we need to create a middleware. And the middleware we're going to create is going to be inside our source directory because this is what we are using. And this is just going to be a middleware.ts. And if you take a look at this documentation, they have three options. The option that worked for me in my next example is going to be this second option here, which actually utilizes the better fetch. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste it here. As you can see here, it's doing a fetch to the API auth get session. It's actually getting the cookie. Session is actually checking. And the only change I want to make here is that if there's no session, right? If it's not authenticated, we cannot find the session, then we want to redirect it to our page. In our case, we're going to create a page called login. Okay, it doesn't exist yet. We're going to create, but login is going to be the directory. And our protected page is going to call dashboard. Okay, /dashboard. So anything has the dashboard in a route should be protected. So we'll be using this middleware right here. Let's go and close this. And now let's go ahead and create the login form. Let's go and create the sign up and use this Better-Auth with our database. So to do this, what I want to do is I want to use this blocks. So Tailwind, they recently changed their name. So NSUI is now Tailwind. So it is based on Shadcn UI, but this is kind of like they created their own blocks. So I really liked their design system, which is awesome. And I went to their GitHub, gave it a star because they're making this open source and letting us use their product. They're working on this one. So what I want to do here, I want to go to the login, and this is the code I want to use. Okay, so I want to create a folder structure here in our app directory. I'm going to here, and I'm going to do parentheses. I'm going to say auth. This is just going to be group. It's a route group, and inside auth. So it's auth is not going to show in the URL. All right, but this is just good for us to group multiple routes. So here I'm going to add another folder. I'm going to call this login. So this is going to be the actual login. Let's say page.tsx. Like so. What we want to do, okay, so nice little TSX here, hello from login. So let's go to our application. Let's make sure that it is running, there you go. You can actually see that is saying hello from login. So we have this. So what I want to do real quick here is I want to go back to this particular page. All I need to do is just copy, and it's going to copy all the code from here. And then I'm going to go ahead and replace this with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. The first one I want to do is I'm just going to call this page instead of calling it login page. And just a section, you see that it has a form, it has a logo icon, sign into Tailwind. So here I want to do for the icon, this is what I like to use. It makes coding a little bit easier for me. I like to create a file inside our component. So let's go ahead and create this component. In fact, before I do this, you see that button input labels are all coming from Shadcn UI. So let's go ahead and install Shadcn UI, which will automatically create our component folder for us. So we're gonna go ahead, let me stop our server real quick and add Shadcn. That's fine. I'm gonna choose link. And I'm going to choose, doesn't matter, I'm going to choose the legacy peer dependency. And it's going to install all the dependency for us. So right now, what I want to do is the first one, I'm going to do npx. This is the one I need to do. I'm going to copy paste, add this, and that should, I'm going to use this legacy peer dependency. That should create a component folder for us inside our source directory, and inside here we have our UI and we have our button. Great. So you see that this error now is gone. Next up we want to do is input. So let me go ahead and do input really quickly, and then we're going to do our label. So okay, so that's good. Now for the logo, inside our component, I want to create a file, and I'm going to call this file icons.tsx. And here, import some icons. Now, with Shadcn, they use Lucid icon, so that's what I'm going to do. So I know that I need arrow left icon from Lucid React, log out icon from Lucid React, and then I also need something called Lucid props icons, which will have all my logos here. So I'm going to say arrow left is going to be arrow left, like there. We want to use log out. It's going to be log out. And then next up is we are going to use our logo. And our logo is simply going to be a function which will have props, and which is going to be type of our Lucid props, like so. And here, the logo that I'm going to be using is just going to be an SVG. So let's go ahead and paste it here. So this is going to be my logo. So if I go back to my page, and instead of this logo right here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to say icons. It's going to come from that component. And here I can get my logo from here. Oh, the problem is that we are not returning. So I'm going to change this one to this parentheses right here. And that should fix this. There you go. Now we have our icons.logo. Let's go ahead and check this out real quick. So here, okay, so it's actually giving us an error. And the reason it's giving us an error because we are actually using Tailwind version 4. If I go to globals.css and this one, tw-animate-css, this is something that we have to now install. npm install Tailwind animate-css, and that should solve our error. Perfect. So if you are working with Tailwind CSS, as we can see here, version 4, then you don't need the config. You used to have the Tailwind config. You don't need that anymore. So these are all going to be just import. So if you want to use any type of plugins, then you have to just install it and just import it in your CSS file like so. All right, so here I would like to now add some class names to make this logo a little bit smaller. And I'm going to do height of 8 and width of 8. If I save this, now you can see that it's much more smaller and it's looking good. Now I would like to change some of the writing here. So I'm going to say sign in to Better-Auth starter example. Welcome back, sign in to continue. Everything else is good, except for I am going to use Google, but I'm not going to use Microsoft. So I'm going to be using GitHub. Let me go back to our icons. So what I'm going to do here, because Lucid icon don't have the Google icon and the GitHub icon, I am just simply going to copy paste the SVG that I found from internet. So all I'm doing here is then again a property called Google, and it's going to be a function. It's going to take props. That's going to be a type of Lucid props, and it's going to have SVG. I'm going to pass in this props to SVG, and this is going to be my Google icon SVG, and then GitHub icon SVG. If I go back to the page.tsx right now, here you see that span Google. So right here, I'm going to go SVG. Now let's go ahead and just delete this, and I'll just do my icons, and that's going to be Google. That shouldn't change anything because it's the same SVG, but I'm going to do the same thing with Microsoft icons, and we're going to do this with our GitHub. So now you can see that logo changed to GitHub. I'm going to say GitHub like so. Okay, great. So we have our login component now ready, and let's go ahead. Here we are getting an error. Let's go ahead and quickly fix this. It's just because the apostrophe. Okay, so no error so far. What I want to do next up is I also want to create the sign up function here, okay? Because we want to sign up the user first, and then we will try to log in. So let's go ahead and inside login, inside our auth, I'm going to create another folder, and this one I'm going to call sign up. Inside here, let's go ahead and create a page.tsx like so, and I'm going to go back to here and go to sign up. So the first option is what I need here. So again, don't need the logo. I need the icons, which is going to be the logo. Also, I want to add some of the class like there. Let's go take a look. So I'm going to say sign up. So there you go. This is our sign up page. Everything looking good. Now I want to change this writing here. So I'm going to say sign up to Better-Auth starter example, and welcome, create an account to get started. And we are going to utilize this SVG just like before. We'll be doing like so. And for GitHub, there you go. Google and GitHub in our sign up page as well. We have our first name, last name, username, password. Now, one more thing I need to do here is and have an account sign in that needs to go back to our login page. So let's see here. So here, I'm going to say login, and then now it should be a link. Now, if I click here, it should go back to our login. And because we are now in our login page, what I want to do in our login page, let's go at the very end And here, I want to change this to our sign up page. So if I click on here, create account, that should go to our sign up page. Another thing I want to create is inside our auth group, I'll create a new file, and that's just going to be our layout.tsx. So layout.tsx. So here, I'm going to do export default function, and it's going to be layout. Return something, but this layout will get some props. One of them is going to be children, which is going to be type of. I'm going to say read only here. And this is going to be a type of React node, like that. And here in our return, children like that. It's giving us a 404 because it's not quite there yet, because this one is actually going to be like that. So you're going to say children. That's going to be type of React node. Okay, so instead of this, we are going to go ahead and add like a div and add this like so. Let's go ahead and add the button, which is going to come from our Shadcn. The link is going to come from our next link, and the icons is going to come from our components. And then just underneath the button here, we are going to have our children rendered. It's just left. Let's just do like 2. There you go. Now this back button, which will take us to the home page, just like that. Now let's go ahead and work on our sign up page first, because we want to sign up an account and then we will try to sign in. So in our sign up page here, we would like to use server actions. So to do that, what we're going to need is to create a server action called sign up. So I like to have all my actions inside our lib directory. So here, let us create another folder, and I'm just going to say auth, and our auth are now going to be inside our auth folder. There you go. Yes, just to make things a little bit cleaner. Okay, so now inside our lib, now create a file. I'm going to say action.ts. This is going to be our actions. And the first thing we need to do is call this use server, because we always want to make sure that our actions are only going to run in our use server. And then we are going to go to the page that is inside our sign up. Let's go ahead and create a function here, actually export async function. We want to name this sign up right here. We are going to get form data, which is going to be type of form data. And as of right now, I'm just going to do a console log. In our terminal is going to have our, let's say, raw form data, which is going to be our form data like that. Okay, and here, this is how we're going to hook it up. It's not going to be a string anymore. It's going to be our sign up function, which is going to come from our lib action. Save. I have to change this to page. So this is our sign up page. Now, what I want to do here is I want to console log whatever form data that we are getting, because we are hooked up. Just by adding the action, this function sign up, to our form, that should be hooked up. So go ahead and see if anything happens to our terminal. I'm going to go to our create account. I'm going to put this John Doe John at gmail.com. Password is whatever, and then just continue. There you go. Immediately you can see that it is actually console logging. So we have our first name John, last name Doe, email, and then we have our password here as well. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and grab all this, delete this, and let's go ahead and create raw form data is equal to an object. And here it's going to have a property called email, and we're going to grab that from form data dot get, and it's going to have, let's say, email. This form data dot get email is actually coming from, so if you take a look on this page right here, right, we have this form, and inside this form, take a look at the input. So here you see the input type text required and the name. This is going to be the first name, okay? And for the email, you see that type email, required name is going to be email. So by that name, you actually grab that value from that form element. So we need our email, form.get email. I'm going to save that as string, like so. And next up, I want the password, like that. I'm going to say form data.get. And this one is going to be pwd, if you want to go check it out. Email, and this is the password, name is pwd. So that's how you're going to get the password. And paste it 2 more times. Change this to our first name, which is going to be first name like that. Actually, this is like that. And then we want to have our last name, okay, to actually put this information in our database. Now, talking about our database, Prisma actually gives us something called Studio, which will help us visualize what table we have. So let's go ahead and do this. We are going to say Prisma Studio like so. So npx Prisma Studio will start up, as you can see here on your left-hand side, localhost 5555. We'll have our account, session, user, verification, all our tables. Currently, we have 0 users. Awesome. So we have this raw form data now. Now time for us to now put this into our database. So I'm going to restructure all this from here. Now I'm going to say email, password, first name, and last name. And this is all gonna come from our raw form data. Okay. And now I'm going to open up a try catch. Okay. Inside here, what I want to do is I want to await. I want to call auth, which is going to come from our auth instance. And this is going to be the server auth, not the client auth, because it is all running in our server. So auth.API, and this is one of the good design from Better-Auth, is that they give you this API, and this auth.API has all the endpoints you need. So here, the one I need is sign up email. So sign up with email. Let's go ahead and give this some options here. So the options I need, I have to do body, which is going to be, first of all, let's go ahead and create a name. It needs a name, and for this, we want to utilize our first name and our last name. Like that. So this is going to construct our full name right there. Next up, we want to use our email, which is going to be our email, and then our password is going to be just the password. So here, it is going to call auth API and is going to put this to our database. Everything will be taken care of by your Better-Auth. Now, for the errors, we can just simply do basically console error, something went wrong. But I want to go ahead and make this a little bit robust, actually to see what type of error you got. So Better-Auth actually give you an error type. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say if error instance of API error, It's going to come from not Better-Auth, but /API. Okay? And then if the error is an instance of an API error that's thrown by Better-Auth, and then I'm going to have a switch statement real quick here, and I'm going to say error.status. I'm actually going to copy the entire switch code here. So it looks like this. So switch error.status, if the error.status is unprocessable entity, and I know this because I console error different types of error, and one of them is going to be unprocessable entity. You can know about this from the documentation as well. Then return error message, user already exists. If there is another one, which is called bad request, then return error message, invalid email. And by default, then return error message, something went wrong. Now, you can see that I'm returning an object has the property of error message. The object, we are not, in fact, dealing with it right now. So what I want to do here is this if statement right now. I'm just going to comment this out just for this moment right here. And then I'm just going to simply console error the error by saying sign up with email and password has not worked, something like that. Okay, with the error. Okay, and then right after this catch, do not do the redirect inside the catch because redirect throws an error. So I want to do this here, and this redirect, I'm going to make sure that redirect does not come from here. Rather, that redirect comes from navigation. And here we are just going to redirect to our dashboard. If everything is good, let's say we signed up and then there's no error, there's no catch, then it's going to go directly to dashboard. Okay. Let's see if it works. And then we're going to come back and handle the error. So what I want to do now is, so let's just comment out this one as well. And we are in our sign up page and we do not have any information, no user. So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to say John Doe. I'm going to change this username. It's not going to be username. It's actually going to be email. There you go, email. I'm going to say john@email.com, password like that. Let's continue this. And I want to go back to my terminal here. Okay, so it looks like it did redirect me to this dashboard here. We don't really have a dashboard page yet, but let's take a look. In our Prisma, let's go ahead and just do a refresh real quick. There you go. It actually created our user. Fantastic. So it's actually working pretty good. If you go to your user, see that it created an ID. It has our email, name. Email verified is false. So once I verify the email, there is an option called verification where you can send email or a token to the email where they can accept it, click on it, come back, and then it's going to be email verified. Fantastic. So now it looks like we do have a functioning sign-up page working. Now we are not dealing with if anything goes wrong. We are not checking that. So we will be doing this, but let's go ahead and add our dashboard real quick. So it's not a page where it doesn't exist. So if I go to dashboard right now, like so, it actually redirects me right away because of our middleware. The dashboard we will be using is actually going to be coming from our Shadcn UI, and that's going to be our sidebars. So this sidebar right here, the one that I want to use, I believe it is like 7. Let me scroll down. this one right here. So it looks like I copied this. So I'm going to stop my server and I'm going to paste this in. Okay, it's going to do the check registry. It should create a dashboard folder for us automatically inside our app directory. Inside our app directory, you see that we do have now a dashboard. Let's see, go to a dashboard. It's actually redirecting me to my login page. So I'm going to go to my middleware. I am going to just put like some S here so it doesn't work for me right now because I want to see what I have in dashboard. There you go. So Shadcn has worked. So we have this nice little dashboard. Let me make it bigger. This has a kind of drawer like setup here. And then that's how easy it is to work with sidebar with Shadcn UI. So this information that we are going to have in our user nav needs to change, right? Okay, step by step. Let's go ahead and let's again protect our page, which is going to be dashboard, through our middleware. We might have to come back later. Okay, now let's go back to our sign up page as you see here and finish it up. I want to handle the errors now. So in order to do this, what I want to do is I'm going to grab all this code, cut this, and right here, I'm going to say sign up form, like so. This is a component that I want to create. The reason I want to create a separate component because I would have to use hooks. So it has to be a client component to show the error properly. So let's just do that. And here, I'm going to go to our component, and inside our component, I'm going to add a folder. I'm going to call this auth folder. And inside our auth folder, I'm going to have a new file, and I'm going to call this sign up form tsx. And here, I'm going to say export default function. Let's say sign up form like that. I'm going to return this. Now I'm going to go ahead and simply paste this here. Now let's go ahead and bring all this necessary imports here. Okay, I think so far we're good except for our sign up. Okay, now let's go back to page.tsx, and here I'm just going to delete all the imports that are not in used and just bring in sign up form. So our sign up form in page.tsx, which is a server component, still are looking real good. So here in our sign up form.tsx, let's go ahead and make sure that we are actually utilizing our error. And I want to show this error in a form where it's actually showing kind of like a toast. So in order to do this, what we need to do first here, we're going to use state. So we're going to say initial state, and it's going to have a property called error message, and that's just going to be an empty string like so. And then we will be using state form action and pending, and this is going to be coming from use action state. So we'll be using use action state from React, and here we'll be using our sign up function that's going to come from our actions, and we'll also pass in our initial state like that. And in this form here, we'll just replace form action with this sign up. Okay. Now for the pending, we're going to go down here where it say continue. There you go, button, class name, continue. So okay, so here what we want to do is we want to add disabled, and it is going to be depending on pending. If pending is true, then button will be disabled. If not, then it's going to be active. I'm also going to add aria disable as well, like so. Okay, all right. So we still have issues, which is our state and sign up. Let's go ahead to our action. Now make some modification here. Action. I'm going to create an interface. It's going to have a state like so. And inside that, we're going to have our error message. And it might have, like it's an optional. It might have an error message, might not. I'm going to say string, or it's going to have a null, like so. And now our sign up function on top of form data is also going to take previous state, which is going to be simply a type of that state, like so. Okay, so previous state, and then now we can, like previously we created this error. Now we can go ahead and uncomment this. Now this is going to look for error if the instance of error is API error. Then error.status is going to look for unprocessable entity if that's the case. And then it's going to return an error message user already exists. There is another one, bad request. In that case, it's going to say error message invalid email. Default return error message something went wrong. Okay, and then we will have our console.error sign up with email and password has not worked. Uncomment this one as well. Save this. Now everything, no errors here. Now let's go back to our sign up form now and state. We will be using this state. Now state is going to have the error message in there. So I want to show this in a form of toast, which is sonar, this one right here. So that will be what we're going to use. So sonar is built by maintain Emily Kwaski. So we're going to use this. So let's go ahead and grab this. And I will be, let's go and stop the server real quick. We don't need the server right now. So let's go ahead and add the sonar. The way we want to work with this is, first of all, we're going to grab this here. So let's go to our source, app, and this is the layout.tsx. So inside here, import this and this toaster just underneath this children. I'm going to call this like so. All right, so let's go back to our sign up form real quick. And here, the way we want to use it, we actually need a use effect to use this toaster. So we're going to say use effect. It's going to have this function like this. And we're going to say if state dot error message dot length. So if there is a state dot error message, if there's a length to that, then we will use toast, which should come from sonar from here. And then here we'll have an error, toast dot error with that state dot error message, like so. If there is a error message, a length to it, then we'll just show the error. That's all we need to use. And we also have to provide the dependency, which is going to be state dot error message, like so. And then it should just pop up if there's any error message like there. Okay, so let's check. Okay, the error is actually coming from because I have to make sure that this is a client component. There you go. It's now working. Now, this is what I want to do. I want to create the same account one more time. And then I'm going to use the same email address, same password. There you go. It actually now giving me an error message. User already exists. Okay. Now, our sign up component is ready to go. Now, let's go ahead and work on our login page. We're going to do similar stuff. So let's go to our auth, our login page like so. And same thing, I'm going to grab this entire thing, cut it, and then we're going to create a new component called login form. like that. And inside our component, inside our auth, let's go ahead and create login form.tsx like that. Export default function, return this, let's paste this. Before I forget, I want to make this use client, and let's go ahead and grab all this. Okay. Now, we haven't created an action for our login form yet. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make sure that this is coming from that. And I'm going to delete all the unused imports from there. So from our login form, let's go ahead and grab our action. Now, this time, we don't need this, but we will be using similar. So why not I just duplicate that function. And here, we are just going to call this sign in instead of sign up, like so. And for the login information, we need just so let's go back to our sign in page real quick. And you see that we need our username and password. I want to change this username to say email. So this one is going to be email like so. And all we need here is that just the email and password. I don't need no first name, last name, or anything like this. So let's go ahead and delete. So we're going to get an email and password or form data. And we are going to call. So here is another function, and that is sign in email. So sign in with email. We don't need this name. We just need the email and password to do this. And we're going to do the same exact thing, catch error in sense of API error. And this time, let me go ahead and, so it has slightly different error. So one is going to be your unauthorized error message, user not found, invalid email, something went wrong. And then console error, this going to be sign in with email has not worked with the error and redirect to dashboard if everything is good to go. Okay, so far so good. We'll be using the same state here as well. Let's go back to our login form now. Now I'm going to do this same thing. So I'm going to say, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this and put this here. And instead of sign up, I'm going to say sign in. That should come from our action. And we definitely need the use effect, use action state. Form action is going to be here. And then pending, we will do pending in this sign in. Same thing, I want to do disabled based on that pending. Aria disabled is also going to be depending on pending. And this toast, we are going to import that from Sonar. And that should work. So let's go ahead and try with a bogus email like so. And then sign in. There you go. We are getting a user error, which is invalid email. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it. Let's check if our login form currently working. So I've created another email address, and this is going to be jane@email.com, and here is my admin password. And then now I'm going to try to sign in. You see that it's console logging signed in because that's what we have from our action. So if you take a look, we are actually console logging signed in, but it is actually kicking us back to login. So our middleware is not properly working. And the reason is, you see that it is actually trying to fetch, and it is actually trying to read the cookie. And in order for cookies to work, like Better-Auth to recognize cookies from the Next.js application, we have to use what's called a plugin. So we're going to go back to this Auth.js, and right underneath we are going to use plugin, and it's going to be an array, and the plugin we're going to use is going to be called Next Cookies Save. So you see that Next Cookies is coming from Better-Auth Next.js, and we have to make sure that Next Cookies is always the last plugin in this array. Okay. All right, so I want to check middleware right now. It should now read the session from the cookie with the plugin. I want to just rerun our application real quick and see if it actually now work. So I wrote down the email that I'm going to use and the admin password. Okay, so we signed in, and there you go. Awesome. So now it's working. So don't forget, if you are using middleware and the cookie in Next.js, you have to use that plugin. So right now we are in our dashboard that we created with our Shadcn. And here, if you take a look, this is just hard-coded. I want to change this logout. And I think I have this file called navuser.tsx, and this one right here, logout, right? This thing, get rid of this, and I'm going to create sign out button. This is just going to be another component. It doesn't exist yet, so we'll go ahead and create that. Let's go in our component, and inside our auth, I'm going to go ahead and simply create sign out button.tsx, like so. And here, just simply going to be export default function sign out button, and here we're going to say div. And inside this div, we'll have our icons and our logout icon. We already have this, and we're going to say log out like that. I'm going to keep this all small case. Okay, so here in the div, we are now going to have an on-click event. Let's say handle click, like that. Let's go and create this function. And also I'll have a little bit of class name here. So I'm going to say flex item center, and then let's say justify between with, let's say 18, and I'm going to say cursor pointer, like that. And here I'm going to say const handle click even function, and it's actually an async function. And here we want to await, and we will call out our sign out function that is going to come from our Auth-Client. So it's a function. It's going to take some options. We're going to do fetch. Let's go ahead. There you go. So I'm going to do fetch options. And here it's going to take, we're going to say on success, then router.push to login. So once we successfully log out, then it's going to route back to our login page. So let's get the router. So router is going to come from use router function, which is going to come from navigation and not the router. Okay, so you've got a router, use router, that's going to come from navigation. And then we're going to call the sign out function. That's an async. And on success, it's going to push it to our login page. And that's it. So let's go back to our nav user. Now just import this. This should fix all our errors here. Let's do user right here. Looks like there is another error. We don't need this anymore. Okay, so it looks like it's working. I'm going to quickly fix this spelling mistake. It's actually going to be sign out like so. Yes, that should work. Now let's go ahead and take a look if the button actually works. Okay, so now if I go ahead and click log out, it should log me out and then redirect me to login page. So let's do this. Perfect. So logout is currently working. Now if I want to go back to dashboard, you see it's redirecting me to login. Now let's go ahead and apply our lessons learned from that middleware debacle that Next.js had. So currently right now, we are only checking our dashboard through our middleware. So what I want to do is I want to go to our dashboard page, which is going to be here. So inside this page right here, and you can see that there's no use client directive here, so it is running in the server. Here, what I want to do is let's go back to our application documentation here, Better-Auth, and they have a nice little example in our next is going to be this one. So let's go ahead and grab this piece of code and then put this one right on top of this. So what we want to do is we want to make this an async function so that we can use await auth. We'll be getting this from our auth library. Headers, we'll be getting this from next headers. And that should be it. So if there is no session, so if I'm logged out, then it's just going to return not authenticated. If for any chance my middleware fails, so for an example, and let's say now if I go to my dashboard page, it kicks me out to login, and that's coming from the middleware. What if my middleware is not working? So let's go ahead and add a bunch of this. This basically means that this middleware is not going to run on dashboard, right? So now if I do dashboard, it is going to show me that not authenticated. It's going to only render that, and I'm safe. So this is a two layer that I'm including. So this is the best practice. All right. So let me go back to my dashboard and refresh the page here. You see that it's actually kicking me. So if you're using middleware, sure you can, but definitely do check authentication session on each of your protected page. All right. So our email and password now currently working, but we're not done yet. We are going to now implement forgot your password. The way I'm going to do this is inside my source directory, inside my app, inside my auth route group, and login, because the forget password is related to your login. I'm going to create a new directory, and I'm going to call this forgot account. So I'm going to say forgot -account. And inside here, let's go ahead and create a page, tsx. Okay, so this forgot account, let me show you the demo so it will make more sense. As you can see here, is that we have a forgot account link. So let's go here and change this forgot your password to forgot your account. And I'm going to go to our login form here real quick. And here, I want to say account. Now, if I save this, now you can see that forgot your account. Now, this link should now go to forgot account page. So we do have a forgot account page. Let's go ahead, create this. real quick. I'm going to say save this. Now here, if I click, that should take me to forgot-account. It looks like it's not recognizing it. So let's see why. This one is actually going to be inside our login directory. Now, if I go here, you see that it's going to our forgot account page where I just have a nice little just a div that says forgot account page. Okay. Now let's add some more information here. I would like to use a form just like our demo. So let's take a look here. If I go forgot account, it's just simply going to give me find your account, an input, and a search. So I want this particular form here as well. So instead of this div, let's go back to our application real quick. And here, we're just going to have this form. Now, this form will have our input, which is going to come from our components input. And this value we will be using state. And first of all, make this a use client component. And here we have a form. We are going to be using a function called handle search. Okay, so that's the function right there. We haven't created yet. We will. And then it's just going to have an h1, find your account, and then input, type email, placeholder, enter your email, and then value will be email and set email. This is going to be from our state. And then we have our button that is also going to come from Shadcn. It's a type of submit. So let's go ahead and do this. So first we want to do const. We're going to get the email and set email. We'll be using state for this. And that's just going to be an empty string to begin with. Okay, so there we go. When the email is going to change, when we're going to put this into our input, this is just regular React. So let's do const handle search. And that's going to be our function. And it is going to be an async function. It is going to take event because we're going to prevent default this, which is going to be type of React form event. Let's go ahead and e.prevent default this so it doesn't refresh when we search. So if I save this here, you can see there is our forgot account. Find your account. We'll be able to search. Like if I click on here, there is a type of email validation here. So let's say do this, search. Nothing happens here because we are prevent default. So it's not going to do a refresh. And that's exactly what we want. So after this, we are actually going to check whether this particular email exists on my database. So we have 2 email currently in our database. We're just going to check for that. Okay, let's I'm going to say const found, and here I'm going to say await search account. This is going to be a function with this email. This function we'll be creating in our actions, action.ts. So right underneath, it's going to be a pretty simple function. I'm going to export. It's going to be an async function. And the name of this is going to be search account. It's going to be email, which is going to be a type of string. And here we're going to say const user is equals to await. And we're going to say db. And here, all our table. So db.user is a table. I'm going to say find unique. And it's going to be a function with an object. I'm going to say where email is email. And finally, we're just going to return user. That's all. This is our function. Let's go back to the forgot account. Let's go ahead and now bring this in. Now this is going to now check whether the email that I input does exist in our database or not. So I'm going to say if found Then if the email does exist, then I'm going to redirect you to a new route. That's going to be for changing your password. So you might forget your password now. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. So here I'm going to do the exact same thing, the router thing. So I'm going to bring in the router is equals to use router, which is going to come from navigation. And here we're going to say router dot push. And this time, I'm just going to copy this. This time, I will be using this one. So you see that I'm actually utilizing a template string. So I'm using login and then forgot account. And inside forgot account, I'm going to create another route. That's going to be for forgot password. And inside that route, I'm also going to pass in this email so that I can grab that email and call our forgot password function. Okay, so this is important. I'm going to basically managing the state through the URL. Else, we want to do router.push. If it doesn't exist, then I will send them to our sign up page. So create an account. This email doesn't exist. Okay, so that's going to be our simple forgot account page. Let's see if it works. What I want to do here, let's just do like a crazy email right here, search, and there you go. It is redirecting to sign up page. Let's go back to our sign in. Let's go to our forgot account. Now this time I am going to go to readme here. This is the email that exists in my database. So I'm going to try with this email. Now this does exist in my database. So this should push me to this forgot password route with this email encoded on the URL. Now this route doesn't exist yet. Just going to test. There you go. It is working. So 404, it doesn't exist yet because we didn't create it. But you take a look at the URL here, forgot password email right now here. Awesome. The next route, which is going to be forgot password. Inside there, we are going to create another page.tsx. So on this, let's go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to do export default async function. And here, we're just going to return some JSX. And this time, it is also going to be a form. So it's going to be pretty similar to this particular page right here. So let's go ahead and bring in all our Shadcn UI components that we need. Also, we need a link. Okay, so on this page, since we are going to bring in the email from the query URL, this is what I'm going to do. Const params is equals to use search params, right? It's the function. And okay, it's giving us an error. Maybe we don't need the async function here. That's fine. And then we're going to say const email from query is going to be params.get, and we send it through email, right? That's going to be our params from the URL, or it's just going to be simply empty string. Okay, and now let's do our state. So it's going to be email set email, and this is going to be use state, and this time instead of just empty string, we're going to put the email from query here. And what's going on here? We don't need anything from here, so props, so params, and then we're going to get that params from here. Another thing we want to do is we are going to do message set message. This is just to show some information whether the email or password has been updated or not. So you have two things to do. First of all, you need your forgot password page, but also you need another page that's you're actually going to update your password, right? So this message is going to show you whether it's updated or not. So it's going to start as an empty string. Okay. So now let's go ahead and create the handle submit function. And this function will be an async function. We are going to do the exact same thing. We're going to do event prevent default like so. And then here I'm going to say const. It's going to give us an error equals to wait. And we're going to call this function called forget password. Okay. Now this forget password is a function with some option. Now you see that it is actually currently coming from our Better-Auth API. We don't want this to come from our API. What we want is we want to go to our auth client, and then here we're going to get our forget password function. The auth client, that's what we need. And let's make this use client function while we are at it. And here the options it requires is obviously to the email, which is going to be the email, and it's going to take redirect to. So now I'm just going to copy this, another template string here, and then it's finally going to go to another route, which is going to be your reset password route. All right. And then here, if error, so this is going to give us error if there is an error. And if error, then we're going to set the message, something went wrong, please try again, else check your email for the reset link. Because from this particular page, we are going to send an actual email to your email address if it's valid with the token, so you can reset the password yourself. And then set email is going to go back to empty string. And this particular message we are utilizing just underneath here. So div message. All right. So far we have been playing with some random email, Jane Doe, John Doe. So these are obviously not a valid email. And I'm going to show you with my valid email address that it actually works. There is that. Okay. But before we do this, one step at a time, let's go ahead and build out our reset password. Go ahead inside our forgot password. Let's go ahead and create another folder. We're going to call this reset password. So it has to be the same exact name, reset dash password. Let's go ahead and create a page here as well. Page.tsx. Okay. So on this particular reset password page, same thing. We're going to add a form here. So first we're going to get password, set password, because this is the page where you are actually going to put in your new password. So we want to set this in use state, and it's going to be empty string to begin with. Let us put this as a client. After that, we are also going to use our message, or set message, which is going to be an empty string as well. So this time we are also going to be using our search params. What's going to happen is that if I click on the link that was sent to my email address, it will redirect me to a page on my domain. Better-Auth is going to take care of everything, and it's actually going to set a token on the URL. Okay, we need to extract that token and see if it actually matches. So we're going to do the same thing, const search params. Let's just call the search params. Here we're going to say use search params like so. There you go. And then we're going to do const token. And it's going to be search params.get, and it will be called token. And then finally, we're going to say router. It's going to be coming from navigation, and we'll use a router. Okay, we got our token, we got our router. So here we will be using a use effect. Like right away, if there is no token, we should let our user know that, hey, there's no token. So in that case, we're going to do set message, and we're going to just say invalid or missing token, like so. And obviously don't forget to add your dependency. All right, so if there's no token, we're just going to right away send a message that invalid or missing token. All right, so now let's do our handle submit function. And it is going to be an async function. Here we're going to say again, if not token, then just return. Don't do anything. And here I'm going to say const error. This is the same, just like forgot password. This is now going to be a reset password. Again, it's a function with some options. Again, this one is not going to come from API. It's actually going to come from our Auth-Client. So let's go ahead and delete this. Yeah, let's go ahead and delete this and re-import this one. And we want to do this through our client component. And here we want to do token so that it can check. And then we want to put the new password is going to be the password. We're going to add this specific code, which is if there is an error, we're going to set the message, fail to reset password, else set message password reset, you can now sign in. And then it's going to just wait for like 3 seconds, and then it's going to push it to your login. So you can actually log in with your new password. Okay, looks good. Now, what I need to do right now in order to check this, it's not fully ready yet because you can see that it is actually, we haven't sent any email as of right now. So we do have to send email and have that function ready. But for our routes, these are all good. You can see that forgot password looks like this. We have 2 buttons, send reset link, which is going to be using our send function, which we haven't created yet. We're going to do it right now. And then we have our sign in. So let's say we don't need to reset this. We are going to get reset. All right, so reset password, invalid or missing token. There is no token here. I can reset the password with a new password. Okay, so far so good. We're not still done completely. Let's now focus on sending the actual email, and then I'm going to create an account with an actual email, and I'm going to show you how it all works. So to send the email, we'll be using NodeMailer, and we'll be using my Gmail account. You can use your regular Gmail account as well. So let's get rid of all this. All right, so this is the one I need. npm I NodeMailer. We need to utilize, if you want to use Gmail with NodeMailer, there's an article, and I'm going to publish that link into the description. Go check it out. It's going to tell you how you can get your username and your password. You actually have to go to your Google admin account and then create this application, create a password and username where you can actually utilize. So here, let's do this. Import NodeMailer from NodeMailer. Okay, it's giving us an error, and that's because you see that we actually need to install this one as well. So let's go and do this. This is the types for NodeMailer. Okay. All right. So now what we have to do is we have to create a const, export const. We're going to say this one is going to be transporter is equals to NodeMailer, and NodeMailer will create transport. So create transport is a function. It's going to take some object here. And this is what we need to do. First, we're going to say service. Service is going to be Gmail. And then I'm going to say auth. And auth is an object which will have a user. This is going to be process.env.email user. And then we're going to say password is going to be process.env.email pass, like this. So you need those email user, which is going to be your Gmail email address, and then password that you're going to create. So once you have that, you're going to say export, and this is going to be your async function, and we're going to call this send email. This is going to be your function. Okay, send email. And here it's actually going to take two subject and the text. Okay, and then let's just add its type, which is going to be 2. It's going to be string, and then subject is going to be string as well, and then of course the text is going to be string. Okay, and then it's going to await. I'm going to use that transporter. It's going to have a send mail function. We'll take some options, which is going to be from. It's going to be process.env.email underscore from. This is the email is going to go from. And then we have 2. We're going to get that as a props here. Arguments here. We're going to pass in subject, and then we'll be passing this HTML. So let me go ahead and grab this HTML template string real quick. Now feel free to use like React email or anything like that if you want, but this is just going to be very simple. Here you can see the HTML will be requested password reset. Text, if you did not request this, please ignore this email. This is our send email function. Okay, I need to now add this information to our process env, so I'll be right back. Now we have to go to our auth.ts, and here inside our email and password, this is the function we need, send reset password, which is going to take a function which will take user and the URL. And here we're going to say await. We're going to bring in our send email function, and we'll provide 2, which is going to be our user.email, and then subject reset your password, and then lastly we'll have text, and that's going to be this template string that actually going to have the URL. That's it. That's all you need to do. In email and password, you got your send reset password, which is going to give you your user and URL. And then all you have to do is provide the send email function, and it's going to send it from your 2 subject and text. All right. I think that should do it. And another one I would like to add is that right underneath this, I think this is the option. Like if you want, it can basically 3600, which is going to be like 1 hour, like so. So the token will expire in one hour. Then you have to go through the whole reset password one more time. Now I'm going to check whether my send email is actually working or not on the login page. And now I'm going to say forgot your account. I'm going to put my email address, which is click on search. There you go. You can see here forgot password with my email here. And here I can sign in if I remember my password, or I can just click on send reset link. Now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to check whether my email does send out or not. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I've got a message. Check your email for the reset link. Let me go check my email. As you can see here, reset your password. My email is here. If I click on here, it's giving me a nice little URL link. I can click, and it is going to open up to this reset password, where I can reset this password So I am just going to add another number, which is going to be 7, and reset this password. Password reset, you can now sign in. All right, let's go back with an extra letter, sign in. Perfect. There you go. So forget your password, reset password, everything working super good. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and I'm going to log out one more time. And then now I'm going to work on this social auth. Okay, so in order to work with this social sign-in, what I want to do is I want to go to my components. In my auth, I'm going to create a file. And I'm going to call this file sign-in social.tsx. Okay, this is going to be special component that will wrap our social account, our button here, sign in. So what we want to do here is simply going to say export default function, and I'm going to say sign in social, and here it is going to take provider and children. These providers are actually going to be type of this. So providers, so it doesn't matter which provider you use. So maybe not GitHub or Google, maybe something else, but these are the ones that Better-Auth currently supporting. So I'm using all this, and the children is going to be your React node. We're just simply going to return. We're going to get our Shadcn button here, and inside this button, we're just going to render our children. Now this button will get an on-click event like so, and it's going to be an async function. We're just going to call this async function here right from this button on click, and here we're just going to say it's going to be sign in, which is coming from that auth client, and here I'm going to say social, and I'm going to pass in the provider, and we're also going to pass in a callback URL. Where do we want to go? We want to go to our dashboard page, and then we want type of this is going to be button, and variant is going to be outline. And let's go ahead and make this, because it's a client component, let's go ahead and make this use client. Okay, so now you see that we have the sign in, it also have a social, we're just going to provide the provider and then callback URL. So that's all we need to do. And now we are going to go to our login page. So let's go to our login form here, our Google. So there we go. So our Google and GitHub. So instead of this button, I'm going to now do this sign in social, and just going to provide, it's going to come from here, and it needs provider, and here we're going to say provider is going to be Google. Same thing here as well. We're going to do sign in social, and we're going to do provider, and this time it's going to be GitHub. Do the same thing in our sign up form right here, and there you go. I'm going to change this to our sign in social. Say provider, Google like that, and there you go, closing. Okay, now let's check. We are already logged out. So here I'm going to say Google. Let's go ahead, click on here. There you go. As you can see here, it allows me to log in. Now you see that now I'm logging in with my social account. Okay, perfect. All right, so that's how easy it is to work with social sign-in account. And I just showed you the Google right now, and then there's the GitHub. Now you can go ahead and make a change with this. The one that I want to do specifically here is I want to change this information, like Shadcn information. I want to bring this back with the information that the user is logged in, right? So let's go ahead and do, I think it's the nav user.tsx. That's the one. Okay, so here you can see we have our sign out button, which is hooked up. So the one that we want to do, user.name cn. So where this user is actually coming from. So if you take a look at our component here, so we have a nav main. App sidebar is basically the main component that is returning all this. So these are the data. So user is going to be named Shadcn, email, avatar, all this. We don't want to use this. So if you go all the way down, nav user, this is the component that getting the user information. And this user information is the one that we should get it from our Better-Auth. Let's go to our app directory and dashboard. This is the page that's what is rendering right now. And we know that this page is a server component. So here we are already checking whether their session is available. If not, then we are rendering not authenticated, kick them out. Okay. But if the session is present, then we can extract user from it, and you're going to have the session like so. User is going to be session.user. So you see that app sidebar. Now I'm going to go ahead and provide this as user. So I'm going to provide this as a prop. So let's go to this application right now real quick. This is going to be the app sidebar. And so instead of putting all the props here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new interface called app sidebar props, which is going to extend the React component props, which is this one. And then you're also going to have this user, which will have like ID, name, email verified, created at, all this. In fact, the image as well. Okay. And this entire thing, app sidebar props, like so. And here, user instead of data.user, in fact, it's going to be props because it's going to come from props, props.user. Okay. Now here, it's giving you an error. Let's go here. And that's because this user now only expecting name, email, and avatar. And here we are actually giving a bunch of this. So let's go ahead and name, email, and image. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. There you go. Now it's working. So nav user, you just have to match exactly like this one. So we don't need anything else. We just need name, email, and image. And there you go, name, email, and image. So it's going to have okay. All right, so let's go and fix this. And it's just telling us that if it is undefined, because it might be, we create a function right underneath here. It's going to be const initials, which is going to get the user dot name, split this. So it's going to just be initials. So instead of cn, we want to do initials like that. So let's do here as well. There was one more cn. There you go. I believe that should fix that issue. Okay. All right. So this time, now you can basically check it. Let me do preference. Now we can see that it is actually giving us coding jutsu and the email address, count, billing, and you can log out. All right, guys, all the code will be, as promised, will be in the description. I think we are done. We worked with our social auth, we worked with our email and password, forgot account, all this good stuff. It's really a great library, auth library, Better-Auth. So yeah, that's all you have for today. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Subscribe if you're not, like, share, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the next tutorial. Thank you, guys.